David
Hi,
Schuster.
David.
Hi, good morning. You know, Joe, I didn't realize you were there when Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was being waterboarded. You said when we were waterboarding him, you were there. That's news to me.
With the United States,
Joe, how do you know? How do you know that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was?
Hold on, David. David, I wasn't there, but you know what? Thank God I was able to read Newsweek magazine in 2002, who described it, who talked about how the United States did waterboard him, and talked about how Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of September 11th, that killed over 3,000 Americans, started talking like a little pansy. And
how did they know, Joe, that the information he was providing was accurate? How did they know, first of all, that it was the waterboarding that got him to talk? And secondly, how do they know the information he was providing was accurate until they checked it out? It's just as likely that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed could have made up some information.
Well, you know, 5 years later, we know, and the intelligence agencies tell us that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed provided us a treasure trove of intelligence and gave us a lot of information that actually helped us make more arrests, helped us save more lives, helped us, again, it led to other trails. So how do I know that?
I'm talking about all the people who provided false information and false leads and all the time we wasted chasing down ridiculous information because we were waterboarding people.
David, what would you have us do? My God, seriously, at this point, I'm getting very frustrated because you two are in the distinct minority in America. What would you have our CIA agents, what would you have our interrogators do?
I think there are plenty of techniques that are out there that are short of torture that are just as effective.
When did you decide, and when did the liberal media decide, and when did all of us in Manhattan, Georgetown, and West Hollywood decide that waterboarding was torture? Because I've got to tell you, I wasn't at that meeting.
Well, you know, Joe, I've actually seen a tape of waterboarding. I've actually read about the guy from the Justice Department who went over and had himself waterboarded to examine whether it was torture and said, without a doubt, waterboarding is torture. This was a guy from the Justice Department. No. And when he did, then, of course, he was forced out of the Justice Department.
If you're going to be on my show, David, you've got to provide accurate information. He did not say that waterboarding was torture. What he did say was that he was afraid without the proper guidelines and without the proper techniques applied, the way the Bush administration was administering it, that it could possibly be torture.
But that's the closest we've gotten to an answer as to whether or not the administration has a stand on whether or not this is torture.
So in other words, if they're pouring 1 gallon of water down the guy's throat as opposed to 3 gallons of water, that's a distinction, and therefore it's possible the Bush administration could misuse it. Come on, Joe, you know better than that.
Yeah, I do know a lot better than that because I've talked to interrogators that have interrogated some very bad people, and what they tell me is that the biggest danger when we start talking about interrogation and harsh interrogation techniques is that we have what happened in Abu Ghraib, where you have a bunch of people that don't have proper training, that haven't been in this business for 15, 20 years, that don't know how far you can push somebody before serious bodily harm or serious mental harm occurs with them. And yes, the way you apply waterboarding, the way you apply sleep deprivation, the way you apply sensory overload, all of it has to be in a very measured way.
But
or even the top interrogators will say that then it does become torture.
Well, if it's so measured, then why are we afraid to release the tapes? Why did somebody feel necessary to destroy these tapes? Obviously, they felt that there was something problematic with it. If it's in such a controlled environment, if it's so successful, and if it's something we can all be proud of, let's show the tapes. Let's show the American people, here's what we're doing.
You were making the suggestion that whatever the United States government does, whatever our Army does, whatever interrogators do, that we have a responsibility to release it to the world. Listen, at the end of World War II, after the Germans were already ready to surrender, we firebombed Dresden. We killed tens of thousands of little children and mothers. We didn't have to do that, but we were sending a message to Germany. You brought us into war, we're going to incinerate your town, we're going to burn your little children up, we're going to burn babies up, we're going to burn mothers up, we're going to burn grandmothers up, we're going to burn grandfathers up. Was it immoral? Probably so. Did we do it because we were in the middle of an ugly war against Adolf Hitler? Yes. Were we trying to send a signal? Yes. Do I want to see videos? Do I wish I would have seen videos of these people being burned in the streets of Dresden at the end of World War II when we really didn't have to firebomb Dresden? No, I do not.